Is the Infernal Castellan any good in patch 6.1.4? I made an aggressive choice to put the Demonsmith video first to show you what Infernal Engineer and All-Terrain Vehicle can do for the army. The Infernal Castellan deals with a lot else, and, used as a scalpel, not as a blunt instrument, he can be very valuable to raising your faction up as a whole. But let's get into the details. Recruited for a nominal 1000 gold and 250 upkeep, this hero never gets a mount, at least in vanilla. On Ultra he comes at 3908 health, which we should treat as a final minimum. Armor is 120, and like the Demonsmith, no shield. Missile resistance is 15% base, and fire resistance is 25%. Leadership of 75 is decent, speed 32 and charge speed 41 are equal to the Demonsmith on foot. Melee attack begins at 45 and is flaming. That means he benefits from any fire synergy going on. Attack interval 3.8 is slightly brisk, splash target size medium means bore boys on down, max target splash of 3 is narrow. Melee defense is 42 default, which could be worse. Weapon strength 340 is split base 90 and armor piercing 250, which is actually very decent armor piercing. Bonus versus large exists but is only 5. Oh, he's using a fireglaive in melee, yay! Charge bonus is 20 and mass is 1100. The standard weapon, because we'll talk about changes to it later, is ammunition 45, range a very healthy 180, missile strength is officially 375, and flaming attack, jalapeno bullets. Each bullet is base 60 and armor piercing 240 damage, very healthy AP, reload time is 8, total accuracy begins at AT, which is true sniper level. Calibration distance 220, it makes me think calibration distance really doesn't increase ever. You'll see how this becomes relevant with one of the builds. Calibration area is a pinpoint 1.7 meters, which is modified by that crazy high total accuracy. There is a medium penetration cap, and a max targets penetrated after the first of 5, which can make the stated damage outsized against packed infantry, but it's a musket type, so shields can block it in theory. This Contempt unit has the dig-in mechanic like the Granite Guard had, for 40% increased range and 50% more missile resistance when dug in, and digging in takes 25 seconds normally. He can use expert charge defense and charge reflection, so in melee he's one of your best blocker units for your missile infantry, and that's exactly how you're going to use him some of the time. As an embed, he's an increased mobility hero, therefore ideally you'd want one with every single army in your arsenal. The map passive is boost income, something to remember. Agent actions are damage walls, wound, and block army, and I guess they had to stuff this somewhere with only 3 types of heroes. Yes, walls are more formidable these days, but Chaos Dwarfs tend to have ways of dealing with that, but it's your call and your army build. Specialist does its usual agent action cost reduction. Aside from the usual top line 10% spell resistance and missile resistance pips, which matter, at rank 12, Inspiring Infernal makes Fireglaive units immune to psychology, and at rank 18, Infernal Death Mask gives him causes fear and immunity to psychology, so he can no longer be terror-routed. At rank 5, the hero can select one of 2 half-lines, which greatly modify what his final build looks like. I'll cover the main combat line first because it's longer and is universally applicable. Survivalist gives 5% health, we've seen this a lot. It's a faction theme. Indomitable grants plus 12 leadership at 3 pips, Bandolier grants plus 30% ammunition as if you didn't have enough, Blade Master plus 12 melee attack at 3 pips, Piercing Shots plus 15% missile strength at 3 pips. But the midway pip is extra powder, as in, the hero gets plus 30% to missile damage until under 80% ammo. That is nice. Hard to hit is plus 12 melee defense at 3. Gun sight is 1 pip for range plus 10%. You want it. Always ready comes later than for the Demonsmith, but 15% reload time reduction can't be wrong. Scarred Veteran is plus 15% health at 3. And finally, Restock! 4 uses, 60-second cooldown, allegedly it's 30% of the ammunition restored, so if you're down to 70%, it'll get this hero, or any other extra powder unit, right back to 100% ammo for more plus 30% damage shots. This is nice. This is powerful. For the first half line, Infernal Slugs slashes your range by half but adds an explosive damage component to the pinpoint rounds, meant to turn the sniper into an anti-infantry god as well. Warmatic is 1 pip, and the TLDR is that dig in takes 5 seconds only now. Good stuff. Blast protection is armor plus 30 and melee defense plus 5, and 150 armor is insane enough, and that's before items. So this is your infantry blocker unit. Flash Bomb is a 35-meter area, 75-meter range, 9-second cooldown, active ability that inflicts minus 60% speed and minus 24 melee defense upon your foes, which is amazing, and stacks with suppressed and other sources of slowing. Now you understand my reaction to the lack of speed debuff with the non-Gao Grenadiers, but there's no attack debuff to foes here. There's also no use limit, just a cooldown. Finally, In Your Face allows Vanguard deployment and increases the explosive damage from the Infernal slugs by 100%. So whatever it was doing before, that part is doubled. I wish I had the stats, but I wasn't able to find any that I could quote. The Hellforged Bolts line enables magical attacks on top of flaming and plus 15% range. But Stabilized Bipod means that Dig In, which still takes 25 seconds here, also expands your range by 60%, replacing the 40% from the previous bonus. Skirmish Tactics actually is minus 20 armor, but is plus 20% speed and stock, enabling the possibility of sniping from insane angles. Now there is no snipe trait here, so your shots will expose you. Cinderblast Shell is 3 uses, 9-second cooldown, 200-meter range, with a minimum range of 10 meters, and in a 3-meter radius kabooms for 530 flaming damage. I'm not sure it's made magical by the previous trait. 40% of which is armor piercing and 72 explosive damage in a 7-meter radius, none of which is armor piercing. It's nice, but it's not nearly as defensive as the other option. Finally, Molten Cores adds armor sundering, stripping enemies of 30 armor for 10 seconds when hit. So how do we use the Infernal Castellan? We have 2 endgame build types, one with much reduced range, but much increased horde-destroying capacity, and the other an amazing sniper who has no choice but to try and buy time to get damage in bit by bit, chip by chip, prioritizing achievable targets. Maybe it's a dragon, maybe it's a skyjunk. Your best scenario is that you are able to do that damage over time without being stopped, but remember, stock is just for the initial shot. Either way, here are the realities. The hero simply doesn't do enough breadth of damage to shape the battlefield and does not have the melee legitimacy to do more than trade competently when the chips are down, unless you're going with full fire synergy tools, and those involve casters. What this hero does provide all the time is extra opportunities to grind the enemy down, and once leveled he can strategically use restock to maximize the power of your army, focusing on the most impactful units, and that shapes the battle. The reason this hero is worth more than a pile of bull center droppings is because he exists in a faction that has mean, evil, decisive ways to use restoration of ammo when extra powder is in use. Furthermore, his own positioning and high armor and small size make him almost as good a blocker as a shielded unit. Almost. He's not, but he shoots back. So what you want to do when time is short and he has no time to do his damage is to maximize the power of your missile units. So it's a do-it-yourself missile trap if you must. In other words, the Demonsmith has options at the back of the battle and in the front of the battle. The Bull Center Torok must rapidly go into melee at the place of the greatest need, but the Infernal Castellan rules the middle back or the middle front, and absorbs enemy damage while inflicting what he can do on his own. His damage is not weak, and he likes to pierce armor a lot. He's just a scalpel rather than a dreadquake. His damage is very precise, and you want to try and take full advantage of that, so it's what you target which may matter most. And yet you can never fully escape the fact that he's just not going to be the highest damage hero. He's going to make others better and help the whole army with increased mobility and other perks. But here's the thing, 45 shots plus 30% from skills is a lot. Aspire to put that damage into the right targets and make it work. In the end, it's never what he can do alone, it's what he can do with Fireglaive Juniors and make them even better at their jobs, or just pitch in with extra precise rounds to make that mammoth feel pain. In other words, Hellforged Bolts works better with an army with adequate means of long range. Infernal Slugs can be the difference between victory and defeat if that slow is what you needed for blunderbusses to sort out extreme threats. Either way, with this hero, time can be on your side a little more than usual. Make those bullets count. Take care, have fun firing exploding slug shells like you're a Robocop or something.